G'day ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Aussie Starcraft as we bring you this preview of the Season 3 map pools. Now, as you'd be aware, Season 3 just getting started, and a lot of you will have had your first shot at these very interesting maps. Now, there's been quite a bit of a shake-up in the map pool between Seasons 2 and 3 in 2014. A lot of maps removed, and a lot of cool maps being added. So, let's kick it off with the first map. Now, there's a new addition to the 1v1 map pool. So as you notice, actually it's sort of similar to Frost in that it has 4 spawning locations in the corner of the map, and then rather than Frost being rather large and fairly flat, you'll notice this map has elements of the old Belshare Vestige, a lot of this up and down ramp action all through the middle of the map, which has me thinking that a lot of Protoss players are going to love this map. I had a game on it myself today, and I've got to tell you that this very large ridge into the main base did make for a nice 2-base Blink Stalker all in. Poor Terran just going to love the fact that some of the new maps do allow for that once more. Of course, in Season 2 map pool, we did see a lot of the maps where Blink Stalker play were very popular. We saw a lot of them peeled out of the map pool, so nice to see one go back in. There's also a lot of other cool elements on this map. Natural expansion can be attacked both up a ramp and by knocking down destructible rocks, so it makes it a little bit harder to secure a natural expansion. So we could see a lot of sneaky 1 and 2 base play off this map. So very curious to see how our respective races are going to fare. There are a few gold mineral patches in the middle of the map, but as you can see, the positions of those and the various almost the fact that they can be sieged from almost any location in a 360-degree direction make them incredibly difficult to take. But there are lots of bases available on the low ground, but the fact that they are on the low ground will make this map quite prone to, I think, much shorter gameplay rather than the fact maps like Frost tended towards a macro game. This sort of four-player setup on a 1v1 map pool very likely to result in quite quick and aggressive games. The second new map in the 1v1 map pool is of course going to be Deadwing. Now, Deadwing similarly has 4 alternate spawn locations, and as you can see, you can expand down towards your opponent in virtually any direction. You have a natural expansion which also has a 3rd base on the same level. Oh gee, struggling for words today, guys. Done a lot of casting. You have a potential third base on the same level, though you have to be super careful. You have this fairly large choke point here to try and secure to take that 3rd base. You also have destructible rocks here and here, so lots of avenues for units to attack, make sneaky sort of backdoor entrances. Got to watch those very carefully, but all in all, a fairly neat large macro map, much like Frost, I think, in the previous map pool. Going to be a lot of potential for that sort of play and quite long games. As you can see, if you wall this off fairly well and are aware with your units, you could fairly safely secure 3 bases on this map. Of course, things like Siege Tank and Colossi will definitely harass this 3rd base location. I had a PVZ on this map today. It was quite interesting. Things like we were actually not cross-spawn, we were both spawning on the bottom side of the map, so my 3rd base to his 3rd base were incredibly short distance, and Colossi made his life very difficult on that 3rd base location. Add to the fact that there is this very narrow choke between the 2 bases, makes a side-to-side spawning location quite an interesting and aggressive game, and it was quite difficult for him to try and close the distance, because to force his way through this with being shot at from the high ground and potential for force field to cut him off made it quite a difficult choke point for him to navigate. So that's of course Deadwing. Lots of different strategies very viable on that map. Certainly a lot of airplay I think will become very popular. Now the 3rd map is Catalina. It's very merry-go-round-esque with a few slight differences. There's a lot more levels in Catalina than there is in merry-go-round, but it is similar to merry-go-round. It is a 3-player spawning locations, and there'll always be an empty base. And of course, one of my favourite features of this map has this very cool octopus in the middle of the map. I really like that, thought it was very neat. I get a bit distracted when I play the game as I look at it while I'm moving my units around it. But A very cool map, similar to merry-go-round in the sense that you can always expand towards or away from your opponent. Different in the fact that your natural ramp is actually quite small, very easy to secure 2 bases on this map, but difficult in the sense that once you get beyond those 2 bases, you actually have a lot of ramps to interact with your potential third. For example, if your army's caught out of position defending a third, you'll end up fighting into a high ground advantage. If a player in this location was to take this third base, very easy for his opponent to be fighting across the high ground. Things like Protoss can wall off that ramp and make life very difficult for a Zerg player. Alternatively, same strategies can be used while attacking divide and conquer. I think third bases on this map are going to be very difficult to take for most factions. The fourth map in the map pool is Nimbus. Now I think Nimbus looks very cool. Haven't had any games on it thus far, but as we can see, it seems Blizzard is really tending towards using 4-player maps for 1v1s, giving that extra dynamic and that you're unsure of where your opponent is spawning. Makes it very difficult with quick rush and proxy tactics. Got to scout out very efficiently and effectively. Similarly, there's a lot more room on the map to proxy different things, so it really opens some doors and shuts others, so be curious to see just how it plays out in practice. As I said, haven't had a lot of games on this map yet, but really looking forward to giving it a shot in the near future. Moving on to the 2v2 map pool. This is Old Country. Now, Old Country interestingly features in both the 2v2 and 4v4 map pools for the reason that it's actually got 8 spawn locations. So in a 2v2 you'll generally cross spawn from my experience, and one of the important things on this map is the rush distance between cross spawn is actually blocked off. There's these very large rock formations in the middle, so you cheeky 6 pool people that do it on large maps, just remember those rocks are there. It will totally destroy your day. So the interesting thing on a 4v4 map, on this map, is it's actually divided into 2v2s. So you will have opposing players spawning on your side of the map and your allies on the opposite side. So it almost starts as 2 side-by-side 2v2s and then opens up into an interesting 4v4 setup. So be very curious to see just how that unfolds, and love to cast and play a few games on it, and if I can find a nice 4v4 I'll definitely be showcasing that one on the channel. Another interesting 2v2, and I've had a few games on it already, Preservation. Very cool map. You start naturally in the bottom right or top left hand side corners. You have, similar to some of the maps in the old map pool, it does have an internal base expansion, 2 ramps to secure, and then you can secure in quick succession bases moving out around the perimeter of the map. As you can see, virtually no bases in the middle of the map, so you are expanding always down one flank of the map towards your opponent. So in spite of the relatively large size of the map, does make for quite aggressive play. Next up we have the Commune. So this is 3v3 map pool, and I've forgotten the name of the map. Way back in the day, early Starcraft 2 days, there was a 3v3 map where it was top to bottom, and you would have 3 players with 3 expansions behind it. This very much reminds me of that. You have your spawning locations here, and players can easily block that ramp and then expand safely behind them. You've also got gold bases on the low ground, very easy to siege, hard to take and secure. You also have a gold base on the island, so potential actually for a Terran player that spawns in this location to quite safely move to that gold. Can be risky sometimes. You don't want to abandon your allies in their time of need, but sometimes if gone undetected, would allow for a Terran player to quickly take the gold and a Zerg player to quick expand into his ally's own main base. So lots of options there. We'll see just how those come into play. Next up we have Dust Bowl. Now Dust Bowl is another 3v3. As you can see, you spawn either in the bottom right or top left, and all the other expansions are on low ground relative to your starting position. You do have this raised section up the middle, which makes for a little bit of an interesting dynamic. Things like Colossi will make great use of that. Also make it a little bit harder for swarm hosts, things like gaining high ground vision and things. Always that little bit harder to go uphill than it is to just push out straight across a map. So we'll see just how that's utilised. I don't play a lot of 3v3 myself. Have played some recently, but tend to always go 1v1 or 4v4. just a preference. Play a lot of 2v2 on North America as well, so not hugely familiar with Dust Bowl, but looking forward to playing some games on it. If you guys have any great games on it, feel free to shoot them to us. We'd love to cast those. Send them to aussiestarcraftreplays@gmail.com. This is of course Old Country in the 4v4 format, and as we've talked about that a little bit, we'll skip over it to get to our last map, which pronunciation wise I'm going to say it's Holkyon, but feel free to correct me anytime, guys. Pardon me. It is a 4v4 map, and it's going to be extremely interesting. Haven't had any games on it as of yet, but you spawn in this base. You have 2 internal high yield expansions, as long as you can destroy those destructible rocks. As you can see, the rush distance between ramps extremely small, so very easy for it to be either a long macro game as players destroy these rocks and then secure extra bases, or whether the two forces decide to just go all out rush, as it often is in 4v4. You seldom get past tier 1 or tier 2 units, as every faction just spams Zerglings, Marines and Zealots, or alternatively Stalkers, and then just tries to march across a map as quickly as they can. So we'll see how that plays out, but overall I think some excellent additions to the map pool. I've thoroughly enjoyed laddering today, played a lot of 1v1 and enjoyed a lot of these new maps, so I hope you guys enjoy. This is Aussie Starcraft, and I will catch you in the next cast.